Update. Ex-wife left me for a rich man. Now she's back after 5 years, begging for another chance. Original post. I'm 32 years old and married my first wife, Olivia, name changed, 32 female, when I was 24. We were young and in love, or at least I thought we were. Olivia seemed perfect until she left me for a wealthy businessman. That's when I realized what she truly wanted from me. I can't pinpoint the exact moment I first noticed Olivia. We grew up in the same small town and went to the same high school, but we didn't run in the same circles. She was one of the most beautiful girls at school. While I was a bit of a geek, I never imagined I'd have a chance with her. Years later, after graduating from university, I returned to our small town to start a job at the local veterinary clinic and move into a new condo. It was a big change, coming from the bustling city life back to a quiet town, but I was eager to reconnect with old friends and be closer to my family. One night, shortly after settling into my new condo, I went to a bar downtown to catch up with some old friends. I offered to buy everyone around and made my way to the bar. As I approached, I noticed that the bartender looked familiar. After a moment it hit me. The beautiful girl from high school was now a bartender. "What's your poison, honey?" she asked, and my heart raced. I was instantly nervous, feeling like that geeky teenager again. I stood there with a blank expression, stammering awkwardly. I felt like a fool. Despite my nerves, I kept finding excuses to talk to Olivia. I was reconnecting with friends I hadn't seen in years, so I wanted the night to last. Whether it was the alcohol or Olivia's seemingly down-to-earth demeanour, I felt more comfortable talking to her as the evening went on. Before closing time, she asked for my phone and put her number on it. Over the next year, things went well. The clinic extended its hours, and I was making good money. I was approved for a mortgage and preparing to move into my first house. Olivia and I began dating, and I knew early on that she was the one I wanted to spend my life with. I proposed 5 months into our relationship, and she said yes. We got married within a year, despite some friends and family thinking we were moving too fast. The early years of our marriage felt like a dream. I was able to support us comfortably with my income from the clinic. We weren't wealthy, but we managed. Olivia decided to leave her job after we married, saying she wanted to focus on her art. Although she had never shown interest in art before, I supported her decision. Olivia's attempt to pursue art didn't pan out as she had hoped, but she was called back for part-time bartending work during peak seasons. She was good at her job and enjoyed it, but didn't want to return full-time. Then, Olivia's old boss contacted her about a major corporate event in town. It was a month-long summit with CEOs and business owners from across the state. Her boss needed experienced staff, and Olivia agreed to help out because the pay was very attractive. Initially, I didn't think much of it. However, as the weeks passed, Olivia started working late nights. Bartenders often finish their shifts after midnight, so I didn't think much of it at first. But Olivia's late hours continued, and her schedule began to worry me. I would leave for work at 8 a.m, and often she wouldn't be home until I returned, sometimes even after a full day. I started checking her schedule and found discrepancies. One morning, I found a text from Olivia saying she was still working and didn't know when she'd be done. I assumed it was a one-time occurrence, but her late hours persisted. Checking our CCTV footage revealed she came home around noon, not the early morning hours she claimed. I was becoming increasingly suspicious. To clear things up, I decided to visit the hotel where the event was taking place. I brought Olivia a berry smoothie and a fresh croissant, knowing they were her favourites. When I arrived, I found the bar closed. The doors were locked, and the place was eerily quiet. I went to the hotel reception and asked about the bar's hours. The receptionist looked puzzled and told me the bar closed at 1 a.m, and I asked if it might be open later due to the event, but she confirmed it closed promptly at 1 a.m. I texted Olivia asking where she was. She replied that she was still at the bar. I sent her a photo of the closed bar and asked her to come out so we could talk. She said she'd be home in an hour. I had to return to work but was distracted, so I rushed home afterward. When I arrived home, Olivia's car was in the driveway. As soon as I walked through the door, I felt something was off. Olivia was sitting at the kitchen table looking uncomfortable and stiff. Behind her were 3 packed suitcases. The atmosphere was tense. She eventually started crying and said she was leaving to chase an opportunity she couldn't pass up. Her trembling voice and inability to make eye contact told me she was lying. Frustrated and hurt, I slammed my hand on the table and demanded the truth. Olivia finally admitted that she was leaving me for one of the businessmen she met at the bar, a millionaire from upstate. The betrayal was devastating. In the years since, I sold our house and moved to a better neighborhood. I'm now married to Cara, a wonderful and ambitious woman, and we're expecting a baby. Life is good. Olivia had been a distant memory until she recently contacted me, claiming it's urgent and wanting to meet. I don't want Olivia back in my life, but I'm curious about what she needs to discuss. Should I meet with her or continue to ignore her? My opinion for OP. Hey OP, Cara sounds great, and it's brilliant that you managed to move on and find someone to share your life with. So Olivia, the girl who betrayed you, contacts you out the blue and wants to meet up. Dude, if you need closure then why not? But if you don't, and you're happily settled with Cara, then why bother? Perhaps this is a litmus test for your current relationship. Now for the updates. Update 1. Thanks for the suggestions everyone. I know it's been a few months since I posted an update. Cara gave birth to our baby boy a few weeks ago, and we're adjusting to being first-time parents. Some of you suggested Olivia might want to meet up because she wanted to apologize. I decided to give her the benefit of the doubt and agreed to meet her for a coffee. When I first arrived at the coffee shop, I saw her sitting in a booth waiting. She smiled as soon as she noticed me. For a brief moment, I thought some of you might be right, and maybe all she wanted was forgiveness. At first, she tried to play it off cool. She made small talk like anyone would when catching up with someone they hadn't spoken to in years. But I noticed she was up to her old games. As she talked about moving back into town, she looked for excuses to move closer to me or to touch my hand. I would inch away or brush her off, but I could tell she thought she could win me over. I moved back from her and told her to stay within her limits. I could see her cheeks turn pink as she realized I wouldn't crack. She said she missed me. I knew this wasn't true. It took her an instant to decide to leave our marriage when an established millionaire paid her an ounce of attention. Not once over the past 5 years has she tried to reach out to me. That's when I told her to cut the crap and tell me the reason for her urgent meeting request. She started crying, and for the first time, I didn't feel bad seeing her in pain. This was just a sliver of the emotional pain she caused me when she left. She said that she knew she had betrayed me and was a hater, but it was the only person she could turn to. She was right, I did hate her, but I still cared for her as a person, as weird as that sounds. A part of me did not want to know what her deal was and why it involved me. I asked her what she wanted from me. She asked me to lend her some money, $5,000 to be exact. You see, her millionaire boyfriend never put a ring on her finger. When he started hooking up with his hot new assistant, he gave Olivia the boot. Now she doesn't have a dime to her name. It seems like karma caught up with her after all. I don't know why I was so surprised that this was the reason she asked to meet up. When we were together, I was too blinded by love. But once she left, I realized what purpose I served her. You see, she never actually noticed me when we were kids. But that night at the bar, she overheard my friends and me catching up. She heard all about the good job I was starting and my new condo. Hell, after a few beers, I probably even let it slip how much money I was making. She only saw dollar signs and a man simple enough to fall for her charm. Of course, I only realized all this in retrospect. I had no intention of giving her a loan, but I was curious about what she had to say. So I asked the reason why she needed the money. She filled me in on all the details of where her life was now. When her relationship ended, she came back hoping to stay with her parents until she figured things out. Obviously, she hadn't been in touch with her parents all these years, so she didn't know that they had sold their house and moved into a one-bedroom beachside apartment. Olivia told me that she needed the money to restart her life, rent an apartment, etc. She also wanted some money to cover expenses while working on a painting that she hoped to sell to a trendy gallery in the city. Of course, I asked her if the gallery had agreed to commission her. She mentioned wanting to focus on art during our marriage, but during the whole 2 years, she never created a single painting or anything. To be fair, I didn't know if she could paint or not. I had never seen a piece of her work. Olivia admitted that she hadn't spoken to anyone from the gallery. She was planning on creating a piece that she could sell to them. This was typical for Olivia, thinking that she could just walk into a place and immediately impress them just because she existed. Immediately, I denied her. I wasn't rude about it. I didn't say any of the cruel thoughts that were invading my head. Instead, I told her the truth. I had just had a kid and was paying off a mortgage. I didn't have that kind of money to spare right now. She bargained for $3,000, but I didn't give in. She began to explain how she was worried about having nowhere to stay. The bar she used to work at was under new management and didn't need any help. Whatever she was trying to sell, I wasn't buying it. If she wanted to explore herself, she could do it with her own money. I told her that I supported her during our marriage, but she decided to explore her way into a millionaire's bed. I'll never forget how her expression changed in an instant. She went from an innocent damsel in distress to a cold-hearted villain. This is when she told me, "Oh, me? Actually, I didn't come for anything. During the divorce, I should have gotten alimony or at least half of the money you got from selling the house. But I let you off easy. That can change though." That was enough for me. I might have thrown a few curse words her way. Who wouldn't? But that was the last time I would give her the benefit of the doubt. When I got home, I blocked her on all social media apps. The thing is, I'm worried about what she will do next. Can she come after me for money after all these years? Should I talk to a lawyer? I don't know, guys. Any suggestions would be helpful. Thanks. Update 2. Hey everyone. I'm sorry I've taken so long to update you guys. Life has been insanely busy for us lately, but I know that's not why you're keeping up with my posts. You're probably wondering what happened after my exchange with Olivia. Well, I'm happy to say absolutely nothing. She was all bite with no bark. Just to be on the safe side, I did speak with a lawyer. Well, sort of. My colleague's brother worked for a law firm and let me know that in this state, an ex-partner can't go after alimony after the original divorce case has been settled. Even if she did get a lawyer, she wouldn't have a case to move forward with. Plus, she doesn't have the money to fight a case. I'll give her props for a try, but she won't fool me again. I blocked her number as well as all social media apps. Of course, living in a small town does make it impossible to avoid hearing about someone completely. As much as you try to distance yourself from them, someone else will eventually bring up what they're doing. I was told she moved upstate to stay with one of her old high school friends. Luckily, she won't be around to sink her claws into my life anymore. If she wants to play games, they'll have to be on someone else's board. As for me, we're preparing for summer vacation. Cara and I have both booked a few weeks off in August. We've put down a payment on our RV and are going to travel around the state, visiting different campsites. They might think we're crazy for hitting the road with a baby, but we're excited about the journey. Update 3. Wow! I can't believe how many people have been keeping up with the story. It sounds like many of you had to deal with your own version of Olivia too. I was finished with this post after my last update, but something happened that I thought you guys might be interested in hearing about. Remember how I mentioned that we planned on a road trip in the RV? We spent the last 3 weeks traveling around and exploring the state. I was surprised by how good of a traveler our baby was. On our way back, we stopped at a diner just off the highway. It didn't look like the nicest place on the outside, but it was convenient. Cara and I were both too hungry at this point to be picky about where we ate. Once we were seated and had placed our orders, I excused myself to use the washroom. As I was washing my hands, I heard some commotion outside the doors. It sounded like a manager scolding one of the employees. I heard the manager say it was the third complaint they had gotten about the employee in that 1 week. Apparently, she gave a 4-year-old hot sauce instead of ketchup. Then I heard a voice that sounded very familiar. I couldn't put my finger on how I knew it, but it was Olivia, apologizing to the manager for the last chance, promising to mend her ways. Okay, in any other situation, I would have waited outside the washroom for the conversation to be over. An employee being scolded by their boss doesn't need any more humiliation added on top. But this was something I wanted to see. As I was drying my hands, I heard the manager calling her irresponsible and lazy. He also rebuked her for keeping her section unattended and dirty, giving her a last warning. I opened the washroom door and stepped into the restaurant hallway at the exact same time the manager warned her. But it was her last warning, and one more mistake and she would be out of a job. The look on her face at that moment was something I will never forget. I'm probably the last person she wanted to see when her manager said those words. I didn't say anything to her, although her manager did seem slightly embarrassed that a customer overheard him telling off an employee. He came to our table to apologize and offer Cara and me a dessert on the house. Now, I wasn't expecting much out of that little diner, but getting a free pie and seeing my ex-wife being held accountable for her behavior was well worth it. I'll have to give that place a good review later. I guess this will be the last of my Olivia updates. My family and career deserve all of my focus moving forward. I guess she got what she deserved. That's all for today. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and share your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you.